Hi everyone, thank you for joining my presentation. My name is Ross Puent, and I'm a student in the online Masters of Science in Computer Science program at Georgia Tech. Today I'm presenting a synopsis and evaluation of the article Optimal Control versus Safety Red Lines, Internet of Things Safety via Micropolicies for CS 6263, Cyber Physical Systems. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the authors of this paper, Saman Zanuz of the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department at Rutgers University, and Robin Berthier of the Information Trust Institute at the University of Illinois. This paper was originally presented at the 45th Annual IEEE IFIP International Conference on Dependable Systems and Networks, held between June 22nd through the 25th of 2015. If anyone would like to download the paper, it is available at the link at the bottom of this page, and will also be posted on Piazza for those watching who are in CS 6263 this semester, fall of 2019. So next, I just wanted to give an outline of what we will be discussing. First, we will introduce the concept of Internet of Things, or IoT for short, and describe some of the different devices that are available. We will then explore some existing IoT deployments in the industrial setting and some of their safety shortcomings. We will follow up on how to shore up those shortcomings using SafeShim, a layer between IoT nodes and physical plant infrastructure, and micropolicies to make sure only approved access to safety systems is allowed. I will then run through some final thoughts. So first, an intro to IoT. Many people now use Internet of Things devices in their homes every day through what the author calls autonomous sensing and actuation swarms, which are really just a set of distributed, embedded devices in our smart homes. Due to the recent progress constantly developing smaller sensors and low-power, low-cost embedded computational units, many industries have begun using IoT devices for many different applications. There were a few examples listed in the paper, one of which was Amazon's robots that sort and transport goods constantly without the need for human interaction. There was a link to a Newsweek article about this robot army referenced in the paper. It discussed the many benefits these devices can bring, increasing efficiency while being unmanned, and moving and sorting items at a pace that increases the overall efficiency greatly in their warehouses. You can see a picture of the worker robots at the bottom of this slide. The paper also mentions the military's use of drones for autonomous reconnaissance tasks. I personally know that farmers near my home have begun to put sensors in their fields to measure water levels and acidity in the soil to help reduce water usage and better focus their efforts. And as we learned in this course, embedded devices are becoming more readily used in applications such as the power grid to monitor areas that are very remote. The number of household uses for IoT, such as Apple HomeKit and Google Home, provide a framework for a huge number of embedded smart devices in the home, such as machine learning thermostats and many other smart appliances. The paper linked to the Apple HomeKit site, and this references all of the different tasks that HomeKit can help you do in your home and how it can make one's life more efficient. Many vehicle manufacturers are connecting their cars to networks, and some of these connected sensors are allowing vehicles to drive themselves. Some are even downloading software directly into the vehicle and are ensuring data back to the driver display. I know in my own home, we have started to use smart outlets to track power usage in the different rooms, and smart switches to turn our living room and outdoor lights on at sunset so they are on when we arrive home. With these large number of devices, though, comes an ever-growing attack surface. From an adversarial viewpoint, IoT provides a large new playground to attempt cyber intrusions. This can lead to catastrophic failures. The authors suggest that these attacks can be similar to Stuxnet or a cyber equivalent of the August 2003 blackout. IoT is such a large attack surface because there is such a large number of different devices and industries that are starting to use these controllers, and they are usually distributed around systems rather than all in one control center. Because of this, we can think of distributed large-scale IoT platforms as a huge and unmanageable trusted computing base that significantly lowers the infrastructural security bar that we see in plants and substations today. There haven't been any attacks reported in the IoT realm yet, but IoT is still very young, and we need to assume that there will soon be targets as the number of devices being used and the number of industrial controls are increasing quickly. IoT incidents are so concerning not only because of the cybersecurity incidents, but also the difficulty to maintain stringent safety requirements in critical environments, like the safety requirements we discussed in class for physical plants. What would happen if one of Amazon's robots acted incorrectly and injured a worker? Or what would happen if it destroyed most of their products? Existing architectural complexities and sophisticated distributed interdependencies within IoT platforms increase the risk of accidental failures, whether due to unknown programming bugs or human error. These are what the authors describe as accidental events. And as we can all attest to, humans are not perfect. Their actions are not perfect, and neither is their programming ability. While most people are not intending to harm the system or allow intruders in, the nature of humans making mistakes on such a broad spectrum of devices makes the authors propose separating core IoT functions architecturally from infrastructural safety monitoring systems. Existing IoT applications span many different industries. These applications can range from urban bridges to rural train tracks, all the way to offshore wind farms, and all of them provide important work in their fields. Almost all of these applications share a common set of features to monitor and control their surrounding physical environments. IoT control refers to both optimal control, meaning the overall optimal power for minimal overall cost, or we can think of as best value, and safety guarantees, meaning that the prevention of instability within the system. This is very similar to SCADA systems that are currently deployed in the industrial setting. However, current IoT architecture recommends deployment of both optimal control and safety maintenance procedures in what the authors call a monolithic combined control safety architecture. This basically means that the control and safety measures are interwoven with each other in IoT applications. This architecture implies that there needs to be a guarantee that the attackers can never gain access to the IoT platform, meaning we need to have a perfectly secure perimeter, similar to what we saw for plants and control room access earlier in the course. But we know this is nearly impossible to do in modern IT networks. Not only has this been proven in the last 30 years of IT security, but with the constant connectivity and exposure of modern-day architecture, it is impossible to maintain that perfectly secure perimeter. Most devices are networked, and even if they are not connected to the industrial network physically, many have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connections that make it easier for intruders to access them. This means that these monolithic practices lead to the unmanageable and large trusted computer base we discussed earlier. After giving an intro to IoT and outlining the security problems that they see coming in the future, the authors proposed a new minimal minimal trusted computing based IoT architectural design that they call SafeShim. SafeShim is designed such that it builds security into the safety control systems rather than keeping adversaries outside of the security perimeter, which is what traditional security architectures would do. SafeShim implements a separate safety verification layer between the optimal control procedures in IoT and the physical plant. SafeShim wants to verify that embedded devices in the field do not take unsafe actions, but it doesn't care how this is actually done in the mix of decision-making processes in the IoT platform. The main responsibility of SafeShim is to verify that the consequences of actions taken by the IoT actuators in the field never violate the red line safety criteria, or in other words, the point where conditions become unsafe, dangerous, or can otherwise lead to catastrophic failures. They say they can possibly accomplish this through the use of model checking for the verification step using linear temporal logic. Overall, I felt like SafeShim was a fairly simple but powerful concept. It basically passes all logic controls, like making actuators move or returning sensor data to monitors, through a security layer between the IoT devices and plant interfaces. As shown in the image at the bottom of the page, SafeShim uses 3 different concepts to make sure safety is maintained. It uses control action verification to make sure that controllers cannot send unsafe action to relays, PLCs, and any other actuators. It also uses sensor data sanity checks to verify that sensor data, like current and voltage sensors, are only sent to the appropriate monitors, including HMIs. And finally, it uses micro-policy enforcement, which we will discuss on the next slide. I really would have liked to have seen more details into how to accomplish SafeShim's control action verification and sensor data sanity checks. Oh, that is what makes this work so well. Engineers and designers can decide how to best implement the concepts they described using the programming languages and devices they need and basing it all on the plants they're going to put them in. The second part of the proposed solution is to create micro-access control policies. These policies are created after the safety redline requirements of the physical plant are determined. These micro-policies are enforced by the distributed IoT nodes, and they must satisfy the physical plant's global safety requirements, like formal model checking of network access control policies. UpAll is one such tool, and a diagram of an UpAll decision-making agent is shown at the bottom of the slide. This looks a lot like the control logics that we've seen in previous classes and makes sure that only the necessary requests are sent, which ensures that only the appropriate parties can make and receive these calls. The enforcement of these micro-policies is what makes SafeShim work in the industrial setting. It is similar in concept to the idea of least privilege that was discussed in the security portion of our course. Administrators define the micro-policies that the system must implement, and the SafeShim layer checks these policies. Like, is an actuator allowed to move? Or is a monitor allowed to receive input? It then makes sure that only the authorized users and nodes are able to receive this data and take action with it, and it is how we can control these large, previously unmanageable, trusted computing bases that we discussed. Attackers can more easily access IoT devices as they are often used in remote parts of a system that are not often patrolled. This means that not only can they be more easily accessed, they often have much more time. Attackers often have much more time to attempt these attacks, and will often use them over a network since IoT devices are inherently networked. With SafeShim, when an attacker gets into the network, they are limited in scope to what they can do, rather than having control of the whole system because of these micropolicies and the security layer that has been added. Alright, some final thoughts. The authors are working on implementing a deployment of SafeShim in PLCs. While this is great to hear, I feel like SafeShim really needs a bit more focused clarification, especially on how it will actually implement the shim layer programmatically, and some clarifying examples of their expected micro policies. Hopefully the PLC deployment will bring a clearer understanding of the expectations for programmers and engineers when implementing SafeShim. But it is really good to see that there are researchers focused on security and safety systems as we see the mass distribution of IoT devices in industrial settings. I personally feel as though this topic is not discussed often enough, and that we often think of how IoT devices, and even controllers in general, can bring insights into our lives and industries, but we don't focus enough on the security for these, and that can be a big problem when these devices are used to make sure that the safety of a plant or substation is maintained. As engineers, safety needs to be at or near the most important concepts when it comes to designing systems, whether home or industrial, and they are nearly impossible to design without network devices, and specifically IoT devices. SafeShim can be a big step in the right direction for ensuring the safety of industrial spaces when implemented correctly. And I definitely look forward to hearing about future research on the topic. Again, thank you everyone for watching this presentation. Hope it's brought some insight into the IoT safety and security realm for everyone. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out on Piazza or post comments on this video, and I'll try to get back to you ASAP. If you would like to email me, you can email me at rpuent3@jawtech.edu. Thank you again.